I don't know. There was something about it that I'm like, oh, this is a show I always wanted to write. And it was fun, and it was like we could go bonkers at times.
But you'd go
And
bonkers, but then you'd ground it somehow.
Yes. You always wanted to try to ground it somewhere in there, and even if you're leading up to a bonkers scene, you wanted something setting up like this is the reason why this mayhem's going to happen.
You're listening to Screenwriters Need to Hear This with Michael Jamin.
Hey everyone, it's Michael Jamin. Welcome back to Screenwriters Need to Hear This. Another great guest. Hats off to me, because my next guest is a friend I've known him for many, many years. And I honestly have to say, this guy's writing credits are outstanding. He's going to be embarrassed when I say this, but I'm here with Jack Burditt, and he's literally one of the most sought after comedy writers in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. And Jack, before you say a word, let me tell you everyone what you've written on. This could take a long time because you got a lot of credits. Mm-hmm. So, most recently, he is the creator and showrunner of The Santa Clauses, the Tim Allen show on Disney Plus, where Santa Claus. I'm going to skip many of your credits because you have too many. I'm just going to do some of what I think are your highlights. Modern Family. He wrote Modern Family for many years. Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. 30 Rock, which we're definitely going to talk about because that is literally one of my favorite shows of all time. I want to know more about that. Last Man Standing, which he created. New Adventures of Old Christine. I'm With Her. Watching Ellie. I don't know I said that wrong. Watching Ellie. Inside Schwartz. He co-created DAG. Just Shoot Me, which we worked on together. Ink. Frasier. Mad About You. What else did I'm sure. Oh, The Mindy Project. I said that right? The Mindy Project. That's how you said that show?
Yes.
I'm unfamiliar with it. And then, most importantly, the one that everyone knows you for, Father Dowling Mysteries. Jack. Well, thank you so much. Damn, Jack. The credits on you are nuts. We were talking yesterday. We were picketing yesterday. And I was like, Jack, come on, you got to be on my podcast. And you were kind enough to do this. I got a lot of questions for you, Jack. I want to talk about 30 Rock most of all, because I had a lot of questions while we were during our 3-hour hike around the Disney lot. But I was like, let's just save it for the podcast. What was 30 Rock? Because I know obviously you're LA and they flew you out because that was a New York show. So you
Yes.
lived out in New York.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't fly me out. I flew myself out.
Okay.
That's the first thing.
Okay.
They don't put you up. They don't fly. No. It was.
But wait a minute. But do they give you any like allowance for rent, or is that no? You're just paying for it out of your salary.
They give you like a moving fee, I guess. And it's not much. And it's a one-time thing, so there's no.
It's a one-time. And then, so were you living in Manhattan then?
Yeah. So and it was a big decision. I mean, that came about. I was remember I was actually thinking of a career move at that point.
What was the move?
To go to dramas. Because I'm like, I don't know. A lot of sitcoms, I was like, I don't know. Maybe I want to try something new. But I was supervising a pilot that season, a comedy pilot. And I remember just reading a lot of the drama pilots and go, oh, this might be interesting. And even at that time, I met on Friday Night Lights, which was going to be starting up, and was really interested in that show because I thought, oh, this is a great pilot.
But you had to put together a bunch of different drama specs, right?
Yeah. Okay. So I did that. And then I just read in the pack, there were some sitcoms in there too. And it was the Untitled Tina Fey Project. Mm-hmm. And I read that and I'm like, oh shit, I want to be on this show.
I mean, it was great. But then so then your agent submitted you, and then what happened?
So yeah, and he could not, for a long time, get me a meeting with Tina. She wanted the people she wanted, and she's going to do it with Robert Carlock, and I didn't know him either. And my agent really spent a lot of time just saying, would you meet with this guy? And she read a spec of mine that she just didn't care about that much. So, but he talked her into meeting with me. So I at some point I got a call. It was a Friday, They're like, can you go to New York to meet with Tina? I'm like, yeah. And they said, there's a plane leaving in like 3 hours. Can you get on that? And I said, sure. So I went out, I flew out on a Friday night, got there Saturday, met with her Saturday afternoon. She's still the head writer on SNL.
Right.
She was still doing Weekend Update, and it was a show day at SNL. I went to her office there, and I just remember there was a lot of chaos going on, and like, Al Gore is supposed to be doing a couple bits in the episode, but they didn't know at that point whether he was going to show up or not. And I was just curious. I go, well, what happens if he doesn't show up? She goes, yeah, you just deal with it. And I thought, she's so calm. I go, I want to work for her so bad.
And yeah, I mean, and that becomes basically an episode for 30 Rock. That's what happens. I mean, and so, all right. So I'm just curious about the logistics. So you rent a place in Manhattan, and then you shot it. Was it in Queens, in Astoria? I imagine. No, you shot it in
Silver Cup. So no, we shot it at Silver Cup in Long Island City, Queens.
Okay.
We would certainly shoot at 30 Rock at times, but no, our offices, our main set was across the river.
And then how did it work? How was she able to be in the writer's room and be on set? So like, how did she do that?
It was tough. I mean, it was, there was a lot of her shooting during the day, and then some of us going to her apartment at night and writing at night.
Afterwards. So your hours must have been really tough.
They were long hours. Yeah. Yeah.
Like what? Like what was a day? What was a typical day on that show?
I mean, I don't know, typical. I mean, it was always long. It was always, I felt like it was always at least 12-hour days. But I mean, there were times, and we've been in the, doing sitcoms or stuff. I mean, there were times we saw the sun come up.
Yeah, I know.
Which is the worst feeling in the world.
It is the worst feeling. But that show, this was my complaint with 30 Rock. If you laughed out loud, you'd miss the next joke. It was that funny that I'd almost watch it in silence because I don't want to miss it. It was so funny that you couldn't laugh because you'd miss the next big joke, which was right around the corner. It was nuts, that show. I mean, so how was that different for you writing on that show? Was there different? And it was I don't know, what was the secret? I just love that show. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There was something about it that I'm like, oh, this is a show I always wanted to write. And it was fun, and it was like we could go bonkers at times.
But you'd go bonkers, but then you'd ground it somehow.
Yes. You always wanted to try to ground it somewhere in there, and even if you're leading up to a bonker scene, you wanted something setting up like this is the reason why this mayhem's going to happen, or so. But I feel like on that show, we've been in rooms before, and you pitch something really funny, and everybody's like pitching on top of it, and then the showrunner's like, yeah, but we can't do that.
And on that show, it was like, we can,
we can.
That's so. I mean, is that right? I mean, it was
pretty much. Quite often, I'm like, things that I knew if I had pitched on other shows, it would have been like, yeah, that's really good. We're not doing that.
Right.
I thought, oh, it's got a shot here.
But the thing is, like, I don't really remember. I don't remember the early episodes. It couldn't have started out that broad. It couldn't have, right? Because no one would have approved that. No network is going to say you could be this crazy right out of the gate, right?
Yeah. I mean, it helped to have the power of Lorne Michaels behind it. He was an EP on it. But yeah, I mean, what the show became was a bit different from when it started, and there became more frenetic and a little bit more crazy as it went along. But I mean, even in that first season, I mean, episode, I don't even know, maybe it was episode 9. By episode 9, we had Paul Rubens just playing this crazy character.
Right.
And it was the first time we're like, oh, maybe this is what the show can be.
Oh, is that what it was? Wait, the one time it hits and you're like,
yeah.
So I'm pretty sure you were in episode runs, weren't you? Weren't you in it once?
I was in a few. Yes.
A few, and
Tina liked to. I think Tina and Robert Carlock. I don't like being on film. So
which is why they put you in it?
I think it was, but I also think it was partially, I did a lot of set duty. I was on set a lot during that run. And I think there was also the feeling of like, you put him in front of the camera so he knows what every actor's going through, and maybe can, and it is helpful because in front of camera can be terrifying.
Sure. But tell me, okay, so why were you on set most of the time? Why did they choose you?
A lot of the time. I mean, it was just, I felt like in the early years, they just there were a few of us. There was me, they had John Regi, Kay Cannon. I don't know, there was a trust in some of us that they're like, you can sit on set, you can, if something comes up, you can be there, help rewrite it.
Because Tina was there all the time, right?
A lot of the time, yeah.
And so she would say, hey, can you take another whack at this terrible scene?
Yeah.
And then you guys just fix it on the set.
Yeah.
So we did when we were doing Marin, I think I've told this before, but we did a scene in an anger management. Mark was in anger management, so they had a big circle where all the other people in anger management. And so Mark yells at me, he goes, "Jamin, get in here!" Like he wanted to be an extra in the scene. So I'm like, all right. He thought it'd be funny. So I'm sitting in the anger management scene, and then the director yelled cut, and then I get up and I go to the director, give him notes, and all the extras like, this guy is gonna get fired. What the hell is he doing? Why is he talking to the director like that?
That's hilarious. You remember the time on Just Shoot Me, Steve was gonna put me in a scene in the elevator, and he said, "Yeah, I think somebody else had picked. Maybe it should be Burditt in the elevator when George Siegel gets in there." And Steve's like, "Yeah, fine, that seems good." But then, like the next day, he's like, "You know what? Burditt can't be in the elevator. This building is too nice of a building, and he's basically going, I'm too much of a dirtbag to be in this."
Oh my God. We on I don't know if I can say what I was on a show. It was a network show, and we gave the lead character the last name. Well, you must know her, Linda Videtti. You know Linda, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the network didn't realize, they didn't know her name, I guess, and they didn't like the lead being named Videtti. They didn't like that name on her. She's like, what? What's wrong with my name? But I remember we played Just Shoot Me. At Just Shoot Me, we played, and it was must have been pre-production. We played basketball, and then I would guard you because you were probably 35. I was like, give me the old man. You were 35. Oh God. But so now we were talking about this as well yesterday. You're running the Santa Clauses on Disney, and we were mentioning how I hope you're comfortable talking about this, but the stress that comes with running a show versus being a co-exec. And I wanted to get your take on how you feel, what the differences are for you. What are the stresses for you when you're running a show?
I mean, I guess the biggest stress of all is like, if something's not working, it's on you.
It's on you.
It's just on you. I mean, and I just don't sleep when it's like, I'm up at 3 a.m. going, Jesus, we don't figure this out. There's not going to be a script. There's not going to be, and it's just, and there's just so many. I mean, you know how it is. There's 1,000 questions a day, 1,000 emails, texts, everything like that. And you're overwhelmed. And I mean, what I like doing most is writing.
But isn't that the hardest? I always say that's the hardest part of the job. It's the writing part, right?
It's really hard, but it's also what I like the most. I love writing.
But when they come to you with a wardrobe problem, aren't you just like, put them in whatever? I don't really care.
Yeah. It's funny. In fact, every time I have run a show, I always go to the head of wardrobe, and I'm like, I don't know anything about it. You see the way I dress. I should never, ever have a note on wardrobe. So, I will always defer to you. And yet I always wind up having a couple of things like, no, this has got to be like this.
Right. I wonder if you feel this way as well. Like when I'm in a production meeting and everyone has a million questions, and I'm like, I got so much work to do. Can we get this over with? I got to go back and write. Like, to me, that's not even the work. That's always like, this is like nonsense I have to deal with. Like I got the writing is the hard part.
Yeah. I will say though, it's going to production meetings is good because, I think at first when you start writing, you're just like, I'll just write anything. And then the production meeting,
They say no.
Clarifies what a jackass most of the production thinks you are for writing. Like a simple line is going to cause so many problems and so much anxiety for prop people and wardrobe and special effects, stunts and everything like that.
What about casting? Do you enjoy that part?
No. I mean, it's tough. I mean, like I know that a lot of casting now is done on tape, and I know that's its own problem. I know a lot of actors hate that.
Right.
But I just feel so bad. Like, and being in the room with actors, and you have 15 people coming in for a role, and you're like, I could give this to 13 of them.
Right.
They're going to be really good. So I'm going to pick this person, but a bunch of people who easily could have this job will not get it. I hate being in that position.
So so that's what it is. It's about you not wanting to hurt people that you don't. That's the part you don't like.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, because I'm like, there's so many good people out there, and there's so few jobs.
Right. Yeah. What do you have? What's your interaction? What is your interaction? What do you tell new actors how do you make them feel good? Do you have advice for them, I guess?
It's funny because sometimes it's just like they come in and what was in my head, they just nail it. And I'm like, that's great. But there's other times where actors will come in and do something that's completely different and really surprise me. And I go, all right, let's do it that way. And then I will wind up rewriting the role for them. Because
do you tell them that?
I have told them that, yeah.
Well, how do they what do they feel about that? They must be very flattered.
Yeah.
It's so interesting because you've been doing it so long. It's kind of interesting. I don't really talk about this, but you've been doing it so long. It's really not about, at this point, it's not about always getting what's out of your head, casting that. You're like, okay, yeah, I'll do something. I'll just surprise me, do something different. It's no longer about your ego at this point. It's about, just what's interesting, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And when I say I hate casting, it's not like I'm like rooting for everyone that walks through the door. I want everyone to be great.
Yeah.
So, and that's it. It's not, because I know there's certain writers who just like just have a sour feeling about all actors or whatever. And it's not that at all, in my case. So
but now, because it's like, how much do you do when you're watching, on tape? How much will you give them if they're, like if they have the 3-minute, audition? How long will you watch the whole thing?
Yeah,
you will.
I do.
That's good of you.
Yeah,
that's really good of you, because it's you might be reading 10 actors.
Yeah, I know, but I just feel like I owe it to them.
That's really good of you, especially at the end of the day when you're tired or you have more things to do.
Yeah.
And then on set, what exactly? Let's say I know we're getting back to the 30 Rock, but what are you looking at when you're on set? Or is it just all script? Is it all about the words?
Yeah, mostly. I'm not one of those. Very rarely will I go in and go, this is blocked wrong, or anything like that, or the action. Yeah, it's mostly about the words.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's not even about making sure you have the right coverage. You just whatever. You trust that to the director or the DP.
Yes. I mean, I'll call it out every once in a while. I'm like, I don't think we, I don't think we got this reaction. I think the actor gave us the reaction. I don't think we have it
on camera.
So yeah.
Yeah. Right. And I'm sure you learned a lot just from being in post, right?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, and that, I know it's one of the reasons we're running circles around Disney and other studios now picketing, one of the big issues is younger writers aren't getting a chance to either be on set or do post.
Right.
And I mean, if you're writing
you have to know all this.
You gotta know all of it.
Yeah. They don't, it's so odd, like, because I think they're just being short-sighted. It's going to be fine for 5 or 10 years, but after that, when the older writers are done, these younger writers, they're not going to have, like, this studio system. They created this thing that works, this Hollywood machine that really works well. And I feel like they're just trying to save a couple of bucks, but they're going to destroy it like 10 or 15 years from now. Like, what are you doing? You know, Hollywood has this monopoly that they're just kind of ruining. I don't know why they'd want to do that.
Didn't your writing completely change after you started doing post, the way you would write a script?
Yeah, it would not only that, it changed the way we would shoot it. Like we were hired on a job just because Seibert and I knew how to look at the cameras. Like we were hired on for pre-production, but they kept us through production because we knew what to do, how to watch the cameras, which like the other people didn't know how to do. But yeah, but no, you were also mentioning your post-production is so long. This is something I know very little about. Special effects. Like, what is that whole process on with the show you're on now? What do I need to know if I were to say kill you and take your job?
What you need to know is
don't do it. Don't take the job.
All the effects is so much more expensive than you can ever imagine.
How do you? So is it a lot of green screen? Is it rotoscope? What is this?
Yeah, it's green screen. It's I mean,
and so like when you're on set, how do you know if they're doing it right? I never know. I don't.
No, you got to trust it. I guess half the time you got to be like, I hope. Yeah, we were. We shot stuff this year that I was just like, so those mountains we see in the background, because this is supposed to be Chicago we're in and not Santa Clarita, those mountains will be gone, right? I don't know. If there's no money in the budget, suddenly Chicago's going to have a mountain.
So they'll take all of it. So it's even that. That's not even okay. So
that's not even like green screen. It's like things to paint out, or they're dealing with a green horse head on set, and you have person talking to it, and you have to trust that at some point that's going to be a character talking to a reindeer, and the reindeer's talking back. Right.
And that whole, so you're overseeing that whole process. So in other words, if the mouth looks funny to you, you're like, nah, can you do it again because the mouth looks stupid? Or you'll give those kind of notes.
Yeah, until you're told we have no more money, and no more. It's like, and then you're like, it looks fine.
You know what though? But yeah, when we did Marin, which was such a low budget show, there was one shot, the camera's in front of the door of a house, and the door swings open. And for like a fraction of a second, you can see the camera looking in the reflection of the camera in the door, but only if you're looking, and only for like a half a frame. And they said, oh, we'll just take that out. Like the post-production supervisor says, we have some money, we'll take it out. I'm like, why bother? Like, I didn't see it. But it was going to cost a lot of money. I was like, does this really matter to us? But they did. They removed it. I was amazed. It was like a $5,000. Okay. And it doesn't make the show better. It just doesn't make it worse, I guess.
Right. Yes.
But yeah, it's so interesting. So how do you, like, what do you say? I don't know. What's it like with working with, young writers now? What do you say to the young writers? What, tell me.
What do you say? I mean,
what's it like working with young writers? Because you're still working in network big shows. I'm on mostly low budget shows where it's like 3 people complaining or whatever.
I mean, it's fun. It's fun working with young writers. They're so
enthusiastic.
They're very enthusiastic. And then look, I mean, on Santa Clauses in season 1, I mean, our 2 staff writers came in and pitched like this whole Santa Claus mythology to dive into, and it's really become a big part of the show.
They pitched it before they got hired, or when they got hired?
When they got hired.
So
And
they came in on their own. They said, "Hey, what about this?" And
yes,
that sounds
and
smart.
like let's really diving into the mythology of Santa Claus and like past Santa Clauses and
Oh, wow.
and it really kind of opened a lot of avenues, and it made it interesting. And I honestly think it bought us when we did it last year. It's supposed to be one-time limited series, and it did really well. But I also think that storytelling that the staff writers brought in kind of helped get this a second season to like, oh, there's other areas that dig it. We can, like, it's not just about Tim Allen playing Scott Calvin as Santa Claus and he's got a family, but there's this entire world. And like, I don't know the mythology world that much. I watched some of these shows or whatever, but I never broken them down before. But these writers are just like, a lot of the young writers are very much into that. And so
I have noticed that too. When we work with young writers, they're very enthusiastic, and a lot of them come in like, it's like day one and they got piles of ideas, and like, the showrunner is like, all right, and then what do we got? And they come up, they start pitching their ideas, and they're like, whew, at least someone came prepared. Let's do their idea. Because the older writer's like, I don't really know, We'll just have to bang our head against the wall. But the young kids, they got ideas. Let's do those.
Yeah.
They're enthusiastic. But all right, and so you have some. I want to go through some of your credits here, because you have so many interesting. I don't know. I guess tell me how you. I guess let's start with this. How did you first break into the business?
It's almost like should have been expected of me, but I kind of went away from it. So both my parents did this.
Right.
I mean, originally from Cleveland, my dad was a greeting card writer, but then some of his friends, his greeting cards friends, started moving out to LA and working on like variety shows and things like that. And at some point, my dad, like midlife, decides, I'm gonna give that a try.
Fuck all this sunshine greeting cards. Let's do some comedy. So that, when you say midlife, how old was he?
He was in his 40s.
And he broke in his 40s.
He broke in his 40s. I guess it was a different time.
Yeah.
No, like, so we stayed in Cleveland while my dad came out and for a year tried to make it, and then like got on a variety show. And he's like, all right, looks like I got a good job. And
what show was that, though? Do you remember?
Yes. So it was a show called Turn On, which is famous for being canceled, even like almost like halfway through the airing of the first episode.
At the first act break. We got to get this thing off.
There were so many calls to the network, which I'm trying to remember, maybe ABC, maybe NBC.
Why? Because
there were so many calls complaining about it. It was like done by some of the same people who did Laugh-In, and it was like, let's take Laugh-In, but like speed it up even quicker and make faster jokes and go all and make it insane. And so like it had a 13 order, so that's why he moved the family out here, and then boom, after one episode he's out of work.
Oh my God, it's hilarious. That's so funny. Steve and I, we did a show once, and we had a long contract. I go, what if we have to stay on the show? Because Steve was like, this show is canceled at the act break as soon as they air it. And he was kind of right. But okay, so then what after that show? What happened after the show was canceled for your dad?
So then, thankfully, a little bit after that, then he started writing on the Andy Williams Show,
right?
And which was done at NBC in Burbank, and like we live in an apartment a block from Burbank, and
right.
So kind of grew up around it. I grew up in Burbank, and and then he did other variety shows. Sonny and Cher was like the big one he did, but he did a lot of like things you probably never heard of, like the Lola Falana Show and the Hudson Brothers Show. He did but I guess like the mid-70s. He really started realizing like variety shows are going away.
Well, there were a ton of them. There was like Donnie and Marie. I mean, it was like the real big deal.
Yeah. But he was like, he goes, he wanted to make the switch to sitcoms. And he had a writing partner, and they wrote like a Jeffersons. They wrote on Jeffersons. They wrote All in the Family and Sanford and Son.
Oh, amazing shows.
And then the guys who ran the Jeffersons started Three's Company.
Right.
And then that's what my dad and his partner did. They jumped ship, and they went on this new show, Three's Company, which was just this massive hit.
I mean, but all those shows were massive. All like my favorite shows. I didn't know he did Three's Company. Oh my God.
Yeah. So I think he wound up writing probably more episodes of Three's Company than anybody. I think so.
Did you go to set a lot? Did you like, what was like?
Yeah. So, and it was funny. So yeah, I was kind of fascinated by it. I got a kick out of it. I never thought of it as a career. I'm like, my brother and my sister are really smart, and I'm kind of like the dummy of the family. and I always thought like, maybe they'll do something in it. My brother would make like home movie. He's always making movies with those Super 8. Yeah, I just like going. I thought it was fun to like, I would go to Sonny and Cher, go to see those tapings, and then down the hall, All in the Family would be shooting, and my dad would go, "You want to go down and see All in the Family?" Like, yeah, I went down, and just some dumb kid wandering around CBS Television City, and then we'd go by and like I'd watch Carol Burnett being filmed, and
amazing.
And never occurred to me that this could be a career in any way.
I don't know why your dad was doing it.
Yeah, I don't know. I really, because I'm like, these are all smart, funny people doing it, I guess.
And then you went to weren't you in the military after? Did you not, or was there somebody else?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. So
I was not. My daughter went in the military. So
right, no, I know, but I thought you did. But I guess I did. Wait, but I know.
No. I worked at Lockheed. I did. I mean,
they make stuff in the military.
I worked on missiles, so maybe.
What did you do in the missiles? What, you put gunpowder in it?
I mean, honestly, I don't think I'm allowed to say everything I did.
Is that right? You had security clearance?
Probably shouldn't have said missile. I can say missiles.
It's been a long time.
We know Lockheed made missiles. So.
Right. Wow. My college roommate, he was on Secret Service detail for many years. And when I ran into him at a college reunion, I hadn't seen him many years. I was like, dude, I can't believe you're on Secret Service. Like, how many of them are you? How many are there on the Secret Service detail? And he goes, that's classified. I go, that's the answer I wanted. That's all I wanted. I don't care about the number. I want you to tell me it's classified. But okay, so, all right. So then at what point, after you decided you didn't want to make missiles anymore, did you get into comedy writing?
So the one thing I did know I could do was write.
How did you know?
Just in high school. I mean, like I said, I'm kind of a dummy, and I barely graduated from high school. And the only way I graduated from high school was I loaded up on any course that had writing in it. I'm like, I can BS my way through this.
Right.
So, so I knew that. I also knew I enjoyed writing. I would just write stuff all the time.
Right.
And then I like journalism a lot. And so, after high school, did a little bit of college, but not really. Didn't. And I worked at Magic Mountain as a ride operator.
Hey, it's Michael Jamin. If you like my videos and you want me to email them to you for free, join my watch list. Every Friday, I send out my top 3 videos. These are for writers, actors, creative types. You can unsubscribe whenever you want. I'm not going to spam you, and it's absolutely free. Just go to michaeljamin.com/watchlist.
got started going out with another ride operator, and at some point she got pregnant, and we're like, let's get married, see how this goes. We're dumb teenagers, and we got married, and we're still married today. So,
but then how did you? I have to ask, go on.
Oh no, I was just saying. So, because of that, because I had to be responsible, I can't continue working as a ride operator. Then I worked at Lockheed, and that's where I did the missiles thing. But my wife, her friend, worked at the Daily News, Los Angeles Daily News, and she knew I was interested in journalism, and she got me a job as, they called them copy boys at the time. They're editorial assistants, basically a PA for newspapers.
Right.
And back then, stuff still came over the wire, wasn't computer, and you'd rip the wire and get different people. And so I was working there for a few months and still hustling, like trying to pitch editors on, can I write something? And they're like, who is this dumb kid? But then, I met the entertainment editor and just started hanging around, and he took a liking to me, and I got an assignment to interview a band, and that was kind of my first, it was my first writing gig, my first professional writing.
What was the band?
It was a country group called Alabama.
Oh, sure. And then, but that's not sitcom writing. That's not narrative.
No. So, and I was really happy working for newspapers. I really enjoyed it. But while I was working there, I was working with a couple other reporters who wanted to get into script writing. And they had heard at one point about my dad.
Right.
They're like, why aren't you doing this? I'm like, he does it, and he does it really well. Why would I don't want to. I guess that's the biggest part of it, is my dad did it so well. I didn't want to be the guy who's like trying to do the same thing,
right,
and not and being bad at it. And I think that was always a fear. But like one of these reporters, he had been like in special forces, and he wanted to write action movies. So the three of us would sit there and write these spec action movie scripts. We'd get drunk a lot too, and sort of write, and doing that, and we got an agent, not a very good agent, but we got an agent, and nothing was happening with that, and at some point I was like, you know what, we should try TV. And the guy who was in the special forces, he's like, I don't like TV, I don't watch TV, and he really didn't, but I think I convinced. I think at one point we wrote a Cheers spec, right? And I mean, I wrote a lot, and I mostly wrote specs on my own because I just liked writing. I mean, geez, I wrote the Cheers. We wrote a Roseanne. Wow, probably a Home Improvement.
But did you really know then, like, how to write, like how act breaks? Did you really? I mean, there's a difference between knowing how to writing and enjoying writing and knowing how to write.
So I didn't know what I was doing, and it's so weird because I didn't really go to my dad for advice. And by this point, my mom was also became a television writer. She was writing in 1 hours, right? And I did not bug them about it. It was just idiotic, and I think there was an embarrassment on my part, or I'm not sure exactly why. But I got a job reading scripts, picking up. So did it for like TriStar, did it for Disney Channel, did it for a couple of plays as a script reader and doing notes, and that to me was the education. Really? And I started to really see what worked, what didn't in scripts. And I remember because I read a couple books and read articles on writing, and it was always like, those first 10 pages better be great. Right. And I did discover a world where so many people had a really strong first 10 pages, and then it all fell off a cliff. And I'm like, no, I think it's those middle of the scripts that
But,
if you can nail that, then you're in good shape.
But when did you? Because for me, it really took many years, even after we became professional writers, before I really kind of understood how to write. It was mostly relying on more senior writers to do the heavy lifting.
Right.
Well, when did you figure that out?
I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I did the script reading. I'm still doing journalism. Did the script reading on the side, and I think that really helped. Then I got a job at Disney as a script reader. I was like full-time on the lot doing that. And then I was just around it and around people who talked about scripts, and which was really, I would go to meetings that I should not have been in. Like I was in meetings with Michael Eisner and Jeffrey Katzenberg and like where they're talking about projects coming up and how to, do this or do that. And I also didn't know my place. I remember one point arguing with Eisner, and then after the meeting, my boss said, "You can never do that again."
We did this show for him. This was a Michael Eisner show.
Yeah.
And we would try to, he was a good boss, but we would try to convince him. If he was stuck on something, there was no way you were going to change his mind ever, not in a million years. And so, it was his way. It's okay. Yeah. But for the most part, he let us do what we wanted. But once in a while, he'd say, "No, we're going to do it my way." Oh, you have the money.
Yeah.
But so you felt.
So there was one point. So there was a project. It was for the Disney Sunday movie. And Disney had signed these triplets. They're called Creole triplets, and they're cute. I think 16-year-olds. And Jeffrey Katzenberg wanted a show or a movie where on their 16th birthday they discover they're witches.
Okay.
And so it's kind of Charmed before Charmed,
right?
And because I had been in those meetings where Katzenberg talked about it. So they hired a writer, and that writer, the first writer they got, didn't really nail it. And then, because I had been in those meetings, I gave notes on it. They wanted me to give notes and say, this is what it should be.
Wow.
And then they wound up going with another writer. And she wasn't nailing it. And like, I gave notes and she did another pass, and it's like, I'm like, I know this isn't what he wants. And so I did what you're not supposed to do. And over a weekend, I rewrote the first 30 pages of the script. And I went in Monday and I gave it to my boss. And I said, here's what I did. And she said, you can get fired for this.
Why can you get fired for that?
Because I'm a reader. I'm not allowed to take a project and do my own pass on it.
But why not though? Because
I don't know.
There's still her version, and then there's your version.
It's a rule, or maybe they just wanted to fire me. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, I don't know how the rules are. Okay, so you did this, and she said you shouldn't do this.
She goes, you can get fired for this. I go, I know, but could you read it? And later that day, she came in my office. She goes, this is really good. I want to pass it up. But once again, I passed it up. You might get fired. I went, okay. And it got passed up. And Katzenberg said, have this guy write the script.
Then fire him. And
that was my first.
That was your first break.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it never got made.
Right.
Because,
because things don't get made. That's how it is.
Things don't get made. But then it got me. I started like rewriting some Disney Channel projects and a couple. It was all these things. Nothing ever got made. I remember I was hired to write the new Mickey Mouse Club, and then suddenly lost the job. And I still don't know what happened. I was hired, and then they're like, "Nah, no, you're not going to do it after all." Or that was the one with Ryan Gosling and Britney Spears and.
Oh my God! Wow, launch them. It could have launched your career.
I know. I could be hanging out with all of them now. It'd be so much fun. And so, yeah. And so I was doing that, still working newspapers at the time, still doing some script reading. The whole script reading career too. I was like, always like looking for things. And I think the only success story I ever had was I found an article in American Heritage magazine about a newsboy strike in the early 1900s against Pulitzer and Hearst. And I passed along because Disney was always looking for things for kids that kids could be in. And I said, hey, I think this might be a movie. I never pitched it as a musical or anything. I thought it was a straight ahead thing, that it was like Newsies.
And that became that, but you didn't have other, so they just, whatever, your job was to come up with ideas, or if you found an idea, you pitched it, or you put up the ladder, but you didn't get any credit. You don't get
No.
It was just, that sucks.
And that's it. But you know, also I made money reading scripts for years, and that was the only thing that ever.
Yeah, but it wasn't, you were raking it in as a script reader, right?
No. It was mostly, it was actually a tough job for the little money, but like I said, I think that's where I learned everything. So
wow,
so that was helpful. And then and then I was still kind of kicking around, picking up little projects where I could, and still working in newspapers. And I covered the riots in '92, the LA riots,
right?
And was so shook up by it, and so like I really thought I was gonna die out there. Everything was terrifying, and like at this point I got 4 kids. I'm like, I'm none of them will ever be able to go to college or anything because I'm just scraping by, and I was like, I really need to write a great spec and try to get into sitcoms. And it was finally like, then I'm like, I'm really gonna try this. And like I wrote a Seinfeld spec that got wound up getting me, with contacts I'd made, wound up getting me a really good agent. And within a few months I was on Mad About You on the staff.
And how many years were you on Mad About You?
2. I did 2 years on Mad About You.
That was a really good show. And then Frasier, of course. And then not most recently, but pretty recently, Modern Family. The thing that strikes me about Modern Family is like everyone in that room, I imagine, it was a showrunner, potential showrunner, had run shows. Like,
it's crazy. Yeah.
Like it was really a talented room.
Yeah.
I mean,
yes. Like, yeah, it was. Like, I like being on a show early on and really being able to put whatever fingerprints I can on it, and direction, and take character, and like, oh, let's do it. I like being at the creation of something. But there was something really nice about coming into Modern Family at the end. And I only worked on the last 3 seasons of that show. And just being no stress, no pressure. It's just like, I'll tell some of my weird family stories, and maybe they'll go in the episodes, and
because it must be nice knowing that like anyone in that room is capable. Like, it's okay if you're having an off day, someone else will be fine.
Yes.
You're in good hands no matter who's talking.
It was an amazing
It's unusual.
Or rooms.
Yeah, because there's multiple rooms. And did you go back and forth? Because obviously Steve ran one room and Chris the other, but did you jump back and forth, or were you in someone's room most of the time?
I think the first season I was there, I was mostly in Steve's. The second season, it was about half and half. And the third season, I was mostly Chris's.
Do you know why? Why? Like, I would be like, wait, does he not like me? And then if I got into that room, wait a minute, he doesn't like me anymore. Like, I would be paranoid no matter what room I was in.
You're right.
But it was just they wanted to mix it up, or what?
Yeah, I mean, like that first year, whatever room you started in, you were kind of there. And when I say first year, my first year, it was year 9 of the show.
Right.
But And then there was a concerted effort. The writer said, you know what, that got too weird last year. Let's always keep mixing it up.
Okay.
And so season 10, everybody I think did about half and half.
You can answer this now, but did you watch before you got there? Did you watch every single episode, or no?
Yeah, so I had watched the show pretty much every week. I think like the first 3 seasons, and then
Right.
And then what happened in life, and so when I knew I was going to go on the show, I got episodes 4 through 8, and
Okay.
I just watched them all, and which is a horrible way to do it, because
Why?
I just binge because nothing lands. Because then I found myself pitching things, and they're like, "We already did that." And I'm like, really? And then they would tell me the story. I'm like, oh yeah, I saw that.
Was that the one I slept through?
And it was. I felt like I think I waited too late. Like, oh, I'm going to start there next week. I got to binge every episode. So.
Wow. And then, of course, you created Last Man Standing. Now you're working with Tim Allen again, and yeah, I don't know. What do you see? What does the future look like? I don't know. How does it change for you? What's your perception of what's going on with the future of writing?
You're writing. I mean,
Make me feel good.
Yeah, I make you feel good. Yeah, I decide I have to stop. I have to censor myself on the picket line, because
Yeah.
I have such like it's rough. I think what we talked about earlier. Young writers are not learning the skills to run a show or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's really, I think that has to change. I think for the sake of the business.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, for the future, it's tough. I hope we've hit the low point right now,
Mhm.
and that things get a little bit better. But the business is broken in a way too, and I think business has to figure itself out, and as much as writers got to figure out what their place is in the business. But I keep hearing not all these streamers will exist in a couple of years.
Right.
And I'm like, what does that mean though too? And are networks dead or not? Or I don't know any of this. It's and I've never felt like I don't have a handle on the business.
Mm-hmm.
But right now I don't know.
It's interesting because we sold a pilot to, I don't say which one, to a streamer. This is, I don't know, a year or so ago. And then we turned it in, and it just sat on someone's desk for probably close to a year before they finally said it's dead. Like, it took them that long to say.
Yeah.
And then I think what happened was, like, usually you find out in a couple of weeks or whatever, but I think what happened was they couldn't decide if the streamer was dead or not. It wasn't really about their show. It was about the future of the streamer. I think that's what they're thinking about. It's like, are we really going to do this? Like, why are we in business? So I don't know.
I can't believe Netflix is thinking that way, but
between me and you, you heard it here first. So you heard it here first. But you know what though, Jack? You are like us. I said this to Andy Gordon, because Andy obviously, he really enjoys writing, and you're the same way. I feel like you just like Andy will write anything, like whatever. I don't really care. I'll just write something as long as I'm writing. I do the same way.
That's it. I mean, I'm always just writing things just because I do enjoy it. Yeah, and Andy, you're right. Andy is another person I know, like, just loves it. Andy not only loves writing so much, loves everything about the business.
He does. He does.
And it's infectious being around him.
Yeah.
How much he loves it.
He loves it. He'll take pictures. We did a show in the scrim in the back, the background on stage was you could see his house. It was a Hollywood Scrim, and you could see his house in that hill. And he was so excited to see his house in the Scrim.
That's awesome.
Because he always walks around with the camera. He takes, he captures every moment because it's so exciting to him.
He's also just one of the funniest
writers he's hilarious.
I've ever been. Like I just shoot me when you're. I'll say like being in that room. That was such a great room.
It was.
And I also just remember, because I do love writing, and I'll work harder than everybody, because I also feel like I'm not as funny as in that room. I'm like, I know I'm not as funny as Andy or Danny or you.
I don't know about that, Jack.
No, absolutely, 100%. Like, I'd be in that room, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to out funny these guys, maybe work, and I have a nice reputation. The best thing I've had is that I turn in great first drafts.
You do.
And that always been my thing. It's like, because I don't eat or sleep when I'm working on a draft. And and it's just out of fear, because I'm like, I got to be as good as everybody else who's just so naturally funny.
I don't know.
I would just grind and grind and grind. And even when we're in a room and like going down a road and everybody's pitching really funny things, I'm like, I'm not going to be able to join in and out pitch them. So my whole strategy was always, is there another way to go with this story?
How funny.
And so sometimes I would just sometimes I couldn't figure it out, and I'd just be a quiet guy in the corner. Other times it'd be like, yeah, that's great. What if we did that? And I felt like that was sometimes my skill.
But if that first way was getting traction, if the first idea was getting traction, you wouldn't derail it with a pitch that said, what about that?
No, but I would not saying like send the whole story, but like another way to wrap up that scene, or another way to, try to come up with just something, like if it's heading to surprise people. And like, yeah, this is funny. It's going this way. Oh, that happens.
I don't know what season Just Show Me it was. We were in one of the bungalows. I don't know, whatever it was. I have a clear memory of you coming out of your office. You're off on draft, on script, and you come in and you were just exhausted. And it was like, oh man, poor Jack is on script. Because you were really in it, man. Like when you're on script, it's. Yeah, I remember that really well. You were like suffering, and you always turn in terrific drafts. Like, I don't know what you're talking about, because it was always funny on page. And that's the most important thing. Is it funny on, and I don't even know how you did it, because, when Seifert and I work together, we know it's funny because the other person's laughing. But I always felt like, how do you know it? Because, how do you know? I don't know how you did it alone. I really don't. Like, how'd you know it was going to be funny when you turned it in?
Yeah, I mean, I always felt like, though, there was like, I felt like on almost every draft I turned in, there was always like one or two jokes where people go, I don't get this. And I'd be like, I'd start to defend it and then realize like, yeah, no, it doesn't make sense.
I don't get it either. I thought I was going to pull the wool over your eyes. But do you keep like some kind of notebook now when you have ideas, or what do you do?
No, I used to carry a notebook everywhere I went. And
really?
I don't anymore. And I don't know, at some point I'm like, if I don't remember it, it wasn't that good to begin with. But right. I know there's a couple things I've forgotten. I'm like, I know that was good, but I can't remember what that was.
That's exactly what Seibert and I say when we're on Tacoma FD, because we don't take a lot of notes, and they're always our feelings. Well, we don't remember it. It was probably no good. And like, no, but it was good. I don't know. Maybe I should write it down, I guess. I always just feel like you can come up with something else. It's like, it's not the end of the world. You come up with something, a better joke or whatever.
Right.
Anyway, that's so funny. Well, Jack, I want to thank you so much. This is an interesting talk. I really enjoyed this. I definitely enjoy getting your perspective on all of this. Honestly, I'll say one last thing before I let you leave. You were always very supportive, because I was a younger writer on Just Shoot Me, and you were very supportive of me. And I remember you sticking up for me one day, and I really appreciate that. I don't remember the details, but I said something. It was a joke. We were pitching on something. It was probably like 10 o'clock at night. Everyone's probably exhausted. And I pitched something that was like kind of incoherent. And And someone started making fun of me, which you're supposed to do in the writer's room. You're supposed to make fun of the other person. But you came to my defense. You're like, no, this is his process. This is how he comes up with stuff. Leave him alone. And I always remember that. And like little things like that, it's very, that's like important,
Oh, well,
it really meant a lot. Really meant a lot to me.
No, I liked your process too, because it was all out loud, and you would try to.
That's the bad part.
No, but it was interesting to me, because I'm like, oh, I feel like it's what happens in a music studio, and I'm trying to figure out the thing. Like, yes, most people I think would try to figure it out in their head, but I also felt like with your process, because you're trying to get it right, you would like throw something out and like then work it. But I also felt like there were times where you throw something out and you started working it, but then somebody else would pick up on it. And I'm like, oh, maybe, because to me it was like, I always kept it inside until I felt like it was 100% cooked. And I probably shouldn't have at times. At times I'm like, I should have thrown something out that was half cooked and maybe gotten some help.
But that's the thing. And I feel like I should have not say everything out loud, because that also can be a burden when you're just spewing out stuff that's not ready to be heard. Then everyone's like, shut up, so I can think, But I think it's like whatever you're doing, you're always, am I doing it right? Maybe I'm doing it wrong. Whatever you're doing, I always feel like I'm, probably doing it the wrong way. Someone else is doing it better,
Right. Well, and that's one. And this, I guess, would be the advice for younger writers if they ever happen to get into a room too.
Yeah.
It's just like one thing I learned very late in life on this is like every writer in that room is terrified that they're failing.
Yeah.
Even the veterans, even the ones who've been doing it a long time, they're just like, oh shit, oh man, if I don't, I gotta get this. Everybody is in their own heads.
But do you still feel that though? I mean, do you feel like other veteran writers that you currently work with or work with in the recent past feel that way still?
I think the really good ones feel that way.
Really?
Yes.
They feel like they're not. They're not. This is all garbage. It's all gone downhill.
Yeah.
Really, the good ones. Interesting. I'll have to get names from you. Yeah, but I certainly feel like whenever we start a script, I'm like, oh crap. You know what I really feel? I felt like, and I remember on Just Shoot Me feeling this. Every time you write a story, we would break a story in the room, and I always felt like, well, that's it. There's no more stories. That's it.
Yeah.
Like, how could there be more? It took a week to figure out this one.
Yes. Yeah, I know. It was all especially those times where it really took a long time. It's like, how did that take so much? We're done. Yeah, we've explored these characters too much, and now.
But you must have felt that way on Modern Family, though, when you've done season 9, right? I mean, you've done everything. I mean, I know in Simpsons they say, yeah, but we've only done it 3 times,
right?
So we can still do it. We still squeeze one more time out of it. But that show's 30 years old or whatever.
God,
but
it's incredible.
All right. Well, Jack, thank you again so much.
Yeah.
It really was such a pleasure. This is a good talk. All right, everyone. Until next week, keep tuning, keep writing is what I always say. All right. Thanks again, Jack.
This has been an episode of Screenwriters Need to Hear This with Michael Jamin and Phil Hudson. If you're interested in learning more about writing, make sure you register for Michael's monthly webinar at michaeljamin.com/webinar. If you found this podcast helpful, consider sharing it with a friend and leaving us a 5-star review on iTunes. For free screenwriting tips, follow Michael Jamin on social media at Michael Jamin Writer. You can follow Phil Hudson on social media at Phil A. Hudson. This podcast was produced by Phil Hudson. It was edited by Dallas Crane. Music by Ken Joseph. Until next time, keep writing.